A torch lifts in a place that has never known light. The flame throws a shudder of orange across a low, wet ceiling, and then across something on the floor that should not be there. A ring, a shaped, deliberate ring of broken stone, laid down by hands in the total dark. It sits a third of a kilometer inside the earth, far past any reason a person should ever go that deep. No daylight has ever touched this place, not once in all the ages of the world. And yet Neanderthals came down here and built something 176,000 years ago. That is more than 100,000 years before anyone painted a single wall. We can date it almost to the century. We can see exactly how they made it, stone by stone, and we can prove beyond serious doubt that no other creature but a Neanderthal could have done it, because our own kind had not yet set foot in this part of the world. And after everything the science can tell us, one question stays open, and it is the largest question of all. We have no idea why. Oda is old and the young ones follow her because she is certain, and certainty is a rare and precious thing in the dark. She has done this before. She knows the way down, remembers it in her feet and her hands. What she cannot do is tell them why they are going. There is no word for it in the small vocabulary her people share. Whatever pulls her back into the earth to build this thing is older than words and stronger than her ability to say it aloud. So she does not try to explain. She simply gathers what they need and expects them to trust her, the way she once trusted the elder who first brought her down. A thing can be worth doing long before anyone can say what it is for, and she carries that certainty like a torch of its own. The cost of this journey is real, and everyone in the party counts it. Fire is not free. Every torch is fuel that could have warmed a body through a cold night or cooked a meal for a hungry child. Going deep means carrying enough light to get all the way down, and far more important, enough to get all the way back. Get the arithmetic of fire wrong down there, and you do not come home. And trust is not free either, because in the black, each of them will hold a life the others depend on. A dropped torch, a moment of panic, a single wrong turn in a place with no landmarks. Any one of these can kill the entire party, and every person going down knows it. These are Neanderthals, thick-boned, immensely powerful, deeply capable people. Not the stooping, grunting brutes of the old cartoons, but a humankind with big brains as large as ours, or larger, real culture, and minds we are only beginning to respect. They buried some of their dead, they cared for their injured. They made tools and controlled fire and read the land as well as anyone alive. And now a handful of them are about to do something that serves no belly and answers no storm, carry fire into the deep earth to make a thing that has no use at all. This alone should stop us. They were about to spend precious effort and run real risk on a project with no survival payoff whatsoever. That is a very particular kind of mind. Oda goes first. The dark takes her. The world narrows to the reach of the flame, and beyond that flame, in every direction, lies a black so complete it seems to have weight. The air changes as they go down, it grows still and close and cool, and it smells of wet rock and nothing that has ever been alive. They descend in single file, hands trailing the walls, feet reading the floor. 50 meters in, the last gray memory of the entrance is gone, and with it the last thread connecting them to the world of the sun. 100 meters, and there is no upworld at all anymore, only the flame, the stone, and each other. 200 meters, and the silence grows so total that each of them can hear the blood moving in their own ears. This is 336 meters they're walking into the earth. A third of a kilometer of black corridor, held not in any map but in the memory of one old woman's body. To grasp the depth, picture more than 3 football fields laid end to end, all of it underground, all of it in a dark so total that closing your eyes changes nothing at all. There are no marks to follow, no signs, no daylight leaking in from anywhere to say which way is out. There is only the remembered way and the fire and the discipline not to panic, because panic, this deep, is simply death with a delay. And then the thing every one of them has been quietly dreading begins to happen. A torch starts to fail, its fuel spent, its flame shrinking down toward a weak blue stub. For one long moment the whole party stands a single flame away from a darkness that would never, ever let them out. This is the exact edge these journeys ride, the reason the fuel was counted so carefully at the top, the reason trust was never free, but Oda does not let them break. Calmly she moves the dying torch to a fresh bundle, and the fire catches and leaps and holds. Light again, room to breathe again. Down here, managing fire is not a comfort or a convenience. It is the entire, absolute difference between living and never being found. They move on deeper into the dark. And then the torches open onto the place they came so far to reach, a broad chamber far beneath the living world, its floor rising in a frozen forest of stone. Stalagmites, grown drop by patient drop across uncounted ages, stand up from the floor like pale pillars. This is the raw material, and here in the deep dark, the Neanderthals begin to break it. This is heavy, deliberate, sweating work, snapping the stone pillars near the base, then breaking them again to length. Stalagmites are not brittle twigs, they are solid mineral, grown over tens of thousands of years, and breaking hundreds of them to size is the labor of a strong and determined group with a plan. They are not smashing at random, not venting some animal urge. The pieces come out to roughly matching sizes, chosen and sorted. Then they lay them. Piece by piece, in the wavering torchlight, they build 2 rings upon the cave floor. The stalagmites they use are chosen from a narrow band of the chamber, the middle sections, of similar thickness, which means someone was selecting, comparing, rejecting, choosing in the dark, by feel and by firelight. The larger of the 2 rings spans nearly 7 meters across, a great oval of laid stone, deep underground, made by hands that could see no farther than their fire. Where a piece needs holding in place, they prop it with another. Where the wall must rise, they stack short segments on top of one another. This is not a pile that fell together by accident. This is design, arrangement, intention, a plan carried out. Count what this actually took and let the number land. Around 400 pieces of broken stalagmite, weighing in total something like 2¼ tons, all of it carried and set by hand. 1/3 of a kilometer inside the earth, by torchlight, in air that had to be managed, by a species we spent a century calling primitive. Every one of those 400 pieces had to be found, freed, judged, carried, and placed, a chain of small, deliberate choices repeated hundreds of times in the dark. And then they light fires on the stone itself. The rings still carry the proof of it, stone reddened by heat, cracked by heat, blackened with old soot, and among the pieces a single burnt fragment of bone. You cannot survive 300 meters deep without mastering light, and here the light was not just the tool of the work. It was part of the work itself. Stand back now and look at the finished thing, and the question arrives whole and unavoidable. What was it for? Begin by ruling out the easy answers, one by one, because the honesty of this story depends on refusing the comfortable guess. It is not a home. There is no cache of tools left here, no scatter of animal bone from meals eaten, none of the domestic mess that people leave behind wherever they actually live. No one dwelt 300 meters down in the killing black. The very idea is absurd. So it was not a shelter, and it was never meant to be one. People sheltered near cave mouths in the light and air. Nobody in their right mind lives where a failed fire means a slow death in the dark. It is not, as far as anyone can prove, a tomb. No body was laid within the rings, no grave has been found at their center. We cannot honestly call it a place for the dead, because the dead are simply not here. And it is not art either. There are no images on the walls, no signs, no paintings, and it is far, far too old for that in any case, older than the oldest cave painting by more than 100,000 years. Whatever this is, it comes before symbol, before image, before every category we normally use to explain why people make things. It sits in a blank space in our understanding, and it will not move, so we are left holding the question, and we must not pretend to set it down. Was it a gathering place, a meeting held in secret dark, a thing built for a meaning we have no name for, a ritual whose entire content died with the last mind that understood it, leaving only the shape and none of the sense? We do not know, and we should let that question simply hang, unanswered, the way it has hung for 176,000 years, rather than force it shut with a story we cannot support. That is the honest answer, and it is a far heavier answer than any tidy guess would be. Because whatever it was for something a Neanderthal mind held so clearly that it was worth 2 tons of stone and a journey into the deep. The purpose is gone. The proof that there was a purpose is right there, glowing in the firelight, refusing to explain itself. Sit with what the building alone proves, even with the why left forever blank. It proves a mind that could hold a single plan across long hours of total darkness without wavering. It proves people who could organize other people toward a shared, invisible goal, one that offered no food, no warmth, no safety in return. That is not the work of instinct, that is the work of imagination. It proves people who had mastered fire well enough to keep it alive and useful 1/3 of a kilometer beneath the sky. Fire is not just warmth here, it is memory, courage, and time itself, measured in how long the flames will last against the return trip. who looked at the dark as a problem to be solved, and solved it with fuel and planning and nerve, generations before our own species would work up the same courage. Who could stand among a forest of stone pillars and see, inside their own heads, two rings that did not yet exist, and then reach out and make the vision real. That single act, holding an image of something that is not there, and then building it, is close to the root of everything human beings have ever made, every house and temple and city that would ever follow. This is the fact that should quietly rearrange the picture in your mind. For a very long time we told ourselves that Neanderthals were the lesser kind of human, slow, blunt, incapable of the deep inner life we reserved so flatteringly for ourselves. The rings in the dark say otherwise, and they say it in stone we can date to the century. This is not a story someone told about Neanderthals. It is a thing Neanderthals actually did and left behind. Because building this served no body at all. It did not feed them or shelter them or keep the cold and the predators away. It made nothing they could eat, wear, or fight with. It was effort spent on something entirely beyond survival, and that exactly there is the place where a mind stops being merely an animal's mind and becomes something more. Whatever Oda could not put into words, she could put into stone. She could take a wordless, nameless need and turn it into 2¼ tons of shaped rock, deliberately placed deep in the earth. The need to make something with no use, but the making of it is at least this old. It lived in a Neanderthal skull 176,000 years ago, and it left us a message we still cannot read. When the work is done, they gather their spent torches and turn back toward a world they cannot yet see. The climb up is the descent in reverse, the same black corridor, the same carefully counted fire, the same trust holding the whole party together. And then at last, far ahead in the black, the first faint gray stain of daylight, they step out into the living world. Wind, light, the smell of green growing things and open sky, almost violent after the dead air of the deep. Behind them, back in the dark, the rings sit finished and still, waiting, keeping their secret. Whatever the journey meant, it is done now, and they carry it back up into the light inside them, wordless, where it will die when they die. And then time itself closes the door. The way in silts up over the millennia, the passage seals, the chamber goes utterly quiet. The rings sit in perfect, undisturbed blackness for 176,000 years. No wind, no light, no footstep, no witness of any kind. The Neanderthals who built them lived out their lives and died, and in time vanished from the earth entirely, leaving no descendants of their own kind. Our own species rose and spread and painted our first walls 100,000 years later, never dreaming this deeper, older making lay waiting below. The whole long story of us unfolded above a room we did not know was there. For a long time researchers assumed the rings might be recent, the work of people like us, because surely nothing older could be so deliberate. The dates proved them wrong, and the shock of that reversal is part of the discovery. Until at last, modern people following the water and the stone broke back into that space and found the rings exactly as they had been left. They dated the burnt calcite and the regrown mineral, and the number came back staggering and secure. 176,000 years, give or take about 2,000, one of the oldest well-dated human constructions anywhere on Earth. They stood in the beam of a lamp in a place no light had touched in 176,000 years, staring at the plain proof of a mind reaching for something it could not name. We still cannot say what it was for, we may never say, but we can say this much, and it is enough to change how you see them forever. They too needed to make something. Not to survive, to matter. That impulse, which we so often treat as the crown of our own species, was already burning in another kind of human 100,000 years before our kind ever reached this dark. And they carried that need 1/3 kilometer into the dark and set it down in stone and left it there, waiting all this time for us.